What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew on another Wednesday night of What's the Word, Dirty Bird. And we got a special guest tonight that's going to be joining us. One of my homeboys is going to be joining us tonight. We're going to not only talk about Atlanta Falcons talk today, but we're also going to be talking about some Dallas Cowboys talk as well. But as always, we're going to jump into the chat really quick and see who we got in the chat. As always, we got Mr. Motivator. What's going on, big dog? We got Joseph Thornton in the building. He said, what up? Ready for a good show? Most definitely. Mr. got some pizza and he ready. Let's go. We got the wife in the chat as always. Jamari Williams, what's going on? Terry Mitchell in the building. He's not ready to hear about some Falcons news. Yeah, man, we're gonna jump into that. As always, you guys make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. As always, not only to Jew Talk Sports, but Atlanta Falcons Nation. We're both currently on the road to 2K. So definitely go over and hit that like and subscribe button. But I'm really excited for tonight's show. But without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and bring on the guest. The man of the hour.
What's up?
What's going on? This is my boy. He gonna be joining us tonight. Lifelong Cowboys fan and soon to be YouTuber of the Dallas Cowboys. Wiz and the boys. What's going on, man? How you feeling, bro?
Hey, I'm feeling blessed, man. Feeling good, man. Finally got me up here. So definitely happy, definitely humble. Ready to talk some sports, man.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna definitely jump into a lot tonight. Let's jump into the chat really quick. Ultra Shadow, what's going on, man? And you guys make sure, like I said, you like, share, and subscribe. Share this out to even the Cowboys fans as well. We're gonna get into a lot tonight, and we're gonna go ahead and get ready to jump into the first. He said, "What up, Wiz?"
Jamari, what's up, man? How you doing, boss?
All right. So we're gonna jump into the first topic, Wiz. It says the thoughts on Falcons and Cowboys draft and free agency. So I want to hear your thoughts on y'all draft, the Dallas Cowboys draft. If you want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons draft, you can also hit on our draft and what you thought about Kyle Pitts. Do you think we should have went with a quarterback? Because you know that's what most of our fans, believe it or not, wanted us to draft Justin Fields. They're not big Matt Ryan fans. Like you said, we kind of split down the middle as we talked a little bit in the beginning. Here at Atlanta Falcons Nation, you know how we ride. We ride with Matt Ryan, but we do have some haters or as K-Styles will say, Matt Ryan obsessors. So what's your thoughts on you can either start with the Cowboys and y'all draft, or you can jump right in and talk about the Falcons draft. And what do you thought we should went with Kyle Pitts or the quarterback?
Yeah, we could talk about the Falcons. Me personally, you know how I feel. Who don't know, I wanted Kyle Pitts for myself. I'm not gonna lie. I hope he had failed the team. But I think y'all got a dynamic player out of Kyle Pitts, honestly. I don't think you can go wrong. I can see the whole quarterback talk when it came to, drafting a quarterback. But me personally, I don't think the quarterback has been a problem for Falcons. Me personally, I think it's been more about the defense and the offensive line, me personally. So I don't think y'all went wrong. I think y'all got a dynamic player, especially now that Julio is gone. So I think he's gonna do some wonders over there in the Falcons Nation.
So what do you think about Matt Ryan? I don't know if you want to hit on it, but do you think Matt Ryan can get us back to a Super Bowl, or do you think he has what it takes? Or do you think that we should have went with a quarterback? Like, would you have went with a quarterback, or would you have went with a player like Kyle Pitts?
I think with me, I think I probably would have went with a generational talent with Kyle Pitts, me personally. I don't have any. It's not my team, so I don't have any hate for Matt Ryan. Me personally, I just think when it came to Matt Ryan, I think it was all about either bad offensive line play, because he's not a mobile quarterback. He stays in the pocket, so I think it's all about bad offensive line play. I think it was or just not having or just not utilizing all the weapons at certain times. Julio was his go-to, so he'll look at Julio first before he look at anybody else. But I mean, I like Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan's good. I probably, if I was a GM, I definitely would have took. I can't pass up on Kyle Pitts though. I can't do that.
Yeah, man, I agree. You know how I feel about it. I mean, it was up to me. Kyle Pitts to me was a number one type player. To me, he was the best player in the draft. Even
Yeah,
with Trevor Lawrence being in this draft, I think that Kyle Pitts is going to be a Hall of Fame player, or he has the Hall of
sure.
Fame talent. He's a guy that can play the wide receiver position and the tight end position. You can line him up anywhere, and he's a
Right.
matchup nightmare. I think he's a baby Megatron. I don't know if he
Yeah.
has the speed as far as getting in and out of his breaks like Julio and Megatron, because those guys are freaks of nature. But for what I've seen of his college tape, yeah, Kyle Pitts to me is the real deal. But as far as the Cowboys, I mean, what do you think about you guys' draft? Did you like the Micah Parsons, or did you have somebody else that you wanted with that number one pick with you guys?
Yeah, me personally, I wanted J.C. Horn as the first pick for us. Obviously, he went ahead. I mean, he went what 2 slots ahead of us to
Yeah,
when he go. He
Carolina,
went to Carolina. Yeah, so I
Carolina.
really wanted J.C. Horn. I'm not mad at the Michael Parsons pick though. Due to all the things that's going on with us, with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. Vander Esch can't stay healthy. Jalen Smith has been playing poor for the last couple of years. He telling us to look at the film, but obviously the film is telling us otherwise. So
Right.
I think that drafting a young talent who is a good stud right now with Micah Parsons, I think is going to change a lot of different things, especially this year having Dan Quinn come over too. So I'm not mad at our draft. Drafting 8 players out of 11 out of the 10 or 11 picks that we had. We drafted 8 players on defense this year. I think that we all know that defense was a must when it came to the Cowboys. Stock can't stop the run worth nothing. Defensive backs, letting everybody run free back there. Miscommunication. It wasn't good for Cowboys Nation this past year.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. I liked you guys draft. Michael Parsons was a guy I had on my draft board as a top defensive player. If we were going to take a defensive player at 4, he was the guy that I had marked for the Falcons is Michael Parsons, because he can also come off the edge. And as you know, we've
Right.
struggled, with getting pressure on the quarterback. On the edge. Other than Dante Fowler and Grady Jarrett, we really didn't have last year a consistent pass rush. So that was definitely, Michael Parsons was definitely the guy that I wanted. For you guys, I like Michael Parsons. The thing that makes me a little bit nervous with Michael Parsons is how Dan Quinn is going to use him, whether he's going to
Right.
use him as the Mike, where he's kind of like the Deion Jones of you guys' defense, or whether he's going to be a guy that mainly comes off the edge. So personally, like, how do you think, because I don't follow the Cowboys like that, from what I'm hearing, they're saying he's going to be the Mike. Do you expect him to use him in situations where he's going to come off the edge, or be used as like a traditional Mike linebacker where he's covering? Because my thing with Michael Parsons, from what me breaking down his college tape, was his ability to cover. I was a little bit nervous
Right.
about his ability to go sideline to sideline.
Right. I think with us, it's kind of it's too early to tell what they're gonna do with him. I know that from what he said at first, they started him off at the Mike. Then reports came out that he was actually being moved around. So I think it's gonna be a kind of like situational with him. I think you might see him in the Mike, blitzing situation. You might see him as we might jump into a 3-4. So you might see him as the Leo role, going off the edge, blitzing from the middle. So they already had him doing some of that all right now, as far as like blitzing up the middle, going around the edge. So it's kind of too early to tell. I don't think they're going to stick him strictly at Mike. I think they're going to do a lot of different things with these linebackers, though. So don't be surprised you start seeing these linebackers go, one in one place, another one in another place. I think the only person probably going to be consistent in one place maybe it's Leighton Vander Esch being at the wheel, but we got Keanu O'Neal too. That might be playing they got him playing the weak side linebacker as well. So it's going to be fun to watch how they line these up. I think they're going to change each day, though. I think every day going to be a lot different. I mean, each game will be a lot different than what you see these linebackers line up.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I actually I like Jabril Cox. He was a guy that y'all picked up
Yes,
out of LSU. He's the guy to me that is that Deion Jones, similar to Deion
yes,
Jones,
sir.
similar to the guy that plays over in Tampa Bay. That they got Devin White. He's
Yes,
similar to
sir.
those guys. And LSU is known for having those linebackers that can flow sideline to sideline. Smallish linebackers, but guys that are fast. And to me, that's what you need in this NFL. You need linebackers that can cover. So I definitely think that Jabril Cox is the guy that I think
Yeah,
is a sleeper for you guys. I think he's
yeah,
going to really be an upgrade over Jalen Smith and over Leighton Vander Esch because of his coverage ability. I think that
right.
coming downhill far as being physical and being able to tackle. I think Jalen Smith is one of the most physical linebackers in the game. Him and the Wolf Hunter, as y'all call him, Leighton Vander Esch. Yeah, I think those guys are great tacklers and things of that nature coming downhill, but I think they kind of struggle sideline to sideline. So I think Jabril Cox was a guy that I liked on my draft board. I thought he was a good pickup for you guys. What do you think about Dan Quinn and him signing a lot of the corners with these long arms, these long, tall, lanky type corners like the Richard Shermans? He liked those tall corners like he had out in Seattle. What do you think about the guys that y'all brought in? Did you like the long guys y'all brought in, those longish type corners, tall?
Right. But to be honest, when we drafted them, I had no clue who they were. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the Kelvin Joseph. I did like the Kelvin Joseph pick when he came out. I did like him. I did study him a little bit coming out of Kentucky, but I have no clue who Deshaun Wright was or the other cornerback from South Carolina. I think the one from South Carolina, they're trying to play him over at safety right now. But Deshaun Wright has been surprisingly making a lot of noise at OTAs and minicamp this year. So, getting a few interceptions, always around the ball, always definitely hard to get past. I think what Dan Quinn is trying to do, I think he's trying to go back to the LOB type style. Not saying that we LOB at all, but just he's pretty much trying to say that, with long, lanky, cornerbacks, you can pretty much close a lot of gaps and a lot of holes very quickly. So I think that's what he's trying to do. Will it work? We'll see. I'm very optimistic when it comes to Dan Quinn this year. I think we can't get any worse. I think not to last year. So I think we'll be all right.
Look, since you headed in that direction, we're gonna talk Dan Quinn next. But we see my bro in the chat, little bro in the chat says, "Dope seeing Wiz bring his perspective to the show." So shout outs to VA. What up, bro?
What's up, VA?
I appreciate you tuning in tonight. And I want to jump back in the chat real quick, Jay, and just say what's up to some of the people that's in the chat that joined a couple minutes after we started. Let's see. I got to scroll back up here. What's going on, Miss Carrie? You didn't miss too much, Miss Carrie. She said, "I hope I didn't miss a lot." You didn't miss a lot. We just started. We're gonna be doing a Falcons, and this is my bro, Wiz. We're gonna be chatting some Cowboys talk as well, and we definitely gonna have my boy Wiz back on when the season starts, because we know that we match up with the Cowboys again this year. It seems like every year now we match up with the Cowboys somehow, some way, whether we at home or they're at home. I think this game is in Dallas this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Again, yeah, it's in Dallas again.
Yeah. So we all know what happened last year. I don't know if we want to get into that. The failed onside kick. Yeah, the botched onside kick. But
okay, now let me go ahead and say this now, since I'm on Falcons Nation.
Hold on, bro.
Hold
on. I just want to shout out Miss Asia in the chat, the Nation in the chat. What's going on to you guys? Let's see. Devon, he's always in the chat supporting. I appreciate you, Devon, for tuning in tonight. Let's see. I just want to make sure I ain't miss anybody before you go ahead and Tony Wright. What's going on, man? What's popping, man? All right, I think that's pretty much everybody. And if you just joined, please share this content out. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button. Also, earlier, we appreciate all donations. So if you want to send a cash app, my cash app is the $ Jew Talk Sports. If you would like to do a super chat through YouTube, you can do that as well. I really appreciate it. Everything goes to building up this channel and helping this channel grow. So I really appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in. But go ahead, Wiz. I ain't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, man.
Oh no. I was gonna give y'all flowers. About last year. Since you brought up last year, the debacle of what happened. Me personally, I admit, as a fellow Cowboy fan, I think y'all should have won that game last year. Me personally, having us down 20-0, a lot, especially with all those turnovers that happened last year. Yeah, I think with that whole kick situation, that Waterman kick, I don't think that should have went through, me personally. But a win is a win. But I'm gonna give y'all flowers. Y'all definitely should have won last year for sure.
Oh yeah, man. We appreciate it, man. I mean, like I said, for everybody in the chat, this is my homeboy since we go way back to 7th grade. So he's one of those real Cowboys fans. He's not one of those Cowboys fans that say they going to the Super Bowl every year. He's a real optimistic Cowboys fan. That's why I wanted to bring him on the channel tonight to show you guys his knowledge of the game and also to bring you guys that real Cowboys talk. Because a lot of these YouTubers that's out here, some of them, and a lot of these Cowboy fans that's out here, we're going to the Super Bowl every year. but this my boy. He's gonna keep it real with you guys. He gonna keep it a buck up here. So we appreciate that.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, y'all beat us fair and square. At the end of the day, it came down to coaching. Our coaches told our guys to back off the ball instead of jump on the ball, which was dumb. I mean, you've seen the guys not even go in for the football. That was one of the main reasons why, Dan Quinn and that whole staff got replaced and got fired, because that was coaching. Like, you tell the guys going in before you go out there for the kickoff, if they kick on onside kick, it's a live ball, jump on the ball. You learn that in, that's Barney basics of football. You don't even have to be a genius to understand that. So I definitely, even with the players after that game, the Atlanta Falcons Nation can tell you after that game against the Cowboys, when we did our post-game show, I was hot over that game, because I was just like, come on. Even if the coach didn't tell you, that it's a live football. Jump on the ball. Right. We had like 3 or 4 Falcons just watching the ball roll. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. So hopefully we can get revenge on y'all this season. But with that being said, I seen somebody in the chat. We're going to talk Dan Quinn, but I want to jump into you guys being on Hard Knocks, because I see Mr. Lee said Cowboys on Hard Knocks on HBO. What's your thoughts on the Cowboys and the Hard Knocks situation?
I'm split between the two, man, honestly. And when it first came out, I was mad. I was upset. I didn't want us to do it, because I feel like we don't need to be put out in that light in that way. I mean, it's kind of hard for us not to be put in the light, because we are Cowboy fans. We're America's team. But I want us kind of like to fly underneath of the radar, especially with all the stuff that's coming back this year, the injuries, Dak, trying to build up this defense. So I was like, I don't think we need to be put out there. Now, as far as us as content creators, and me just joining on to as fellow YouTubers as yourself, it'd be great for us. It'd be great for us to be able to put more content and be able to have something to talk about, especially during training camp for those who are not going to be there. So it's good on that end, and Jerry loves publicity and all that stuff that comes with that. So he's gonna love all the eyes on us. But so I'm kind of like, I'm in the middle. I'm happy on one end, but on the other end, I feel like we need to fly underneath the radar.
Okay, most definitely. So we're going to talk about Dan Quinn real quick, because we were just talking about him. So we're going to bring up, since he's kind of the elephant in the room. Personally, I'm going to jump into it first, Wiz, real quick. Being that he was our head coach. I think that, like you were saying, Dan Quinn, I think he is going to be a lot better than Mike Nolan, who y'all had last year. To me, Mike Nolan, he's just one of those guys that's been in the league a really long time. But to me, at this point, I think he needs to retire. He kind of reminds me of Dirk Cutter, who was our offensive coordinator who just retired from football. He was kind of old and set in his ways. And I think it was the same way with Mike Nolan. Y'all players look really confused. I even heard Jalen Smith saying y'all needed to get back to the basics and things of that nature, that they needed to simplify things, that guys just kind of were doing with what our guys were doing 2 years ago when we had a linebacker named Devondre Campbell. Every time he would be out there in coverage, he was always second guessing. He was always a step too slow, because he wasn't out there just reading and reacting. And that's what I noticed with the Cowboys last year. To me, on the defensive side of the ball, y'all have some good young players. I just think that whatever concept Mike Nolan was trying to, pass down to those guys or coach those guys, they weren't understanding his scheme. Whether the scheme was garbage or whether guys were just confused, I didn't see guys out there just reading and reacting and playing the game naturally. It seemed like guys were doing a lot of thinking out there on the field. And you never want players out there thinking. You want guys out there just reading and reacting. You don't want those guys out there thinking too much. Because anytime you think too much, in the game of football, Wiz, if you're a second, late, that could be a touchdown. That could be, anything. So you have to be reading, reacting, and just playing the game, letting the game flow. And I really think that that's kind of where you guys struggled last year. But I do think Dan Quinn is going to be an upgrade over Mike Nolan. I do think that he's a solid defensive mind. The problem that I had with Dan Quinn when he was in Atlanta, here in Atlanta, he didn't make adjustments on the defensive side. He relied on that cover 3. And that's the thing that I'm afraid of. I watched his first press conference with you guys, and he talked about he was going to try to change up his ways, that he went back and he learned from the era of his ways, and that he wasn't going to do like a wash, rinse, and repeat type of cycle, but that he was going to make some adjustments. So I'm very interested to see what adjustments he makes as the Dallas defensive coordinator. Now, I do think also in Atlanta, because he was the head coach, he had a lot more on his plate. Just being a coordinator is a lot different than being the CEO of the whole team, meaning operating everybody, all the coordinators, the offense, the defense, special teams. So I do think that he can be more hands-on with these players, which could bode well for you guys. But I want to get your thoughts. What do you think about Dan Quinn? Do you think that he's going to be an upgrade? And from what you've heard so far, what's coming out of you guys' camp there in Dallas, what do you think as far as Dan Quinn?
Well, I think that he always has the advantage from last year from Mike Nolan for one simple reason, that he has an off season this year. I think that's something that we were robbed about. Now, granted, everybody had the same situation last year, but I think what happened with us is that they were putting too much on everybody's plate without being able to be face to face. Everything was pretty much Zoom meetings. So they tried to change up a whole scheme. And be honest, they wanted to run a 3-4 last year. We didn't have 3-4 talent. We had 4-3 talent. We had 4 down linemen. We didn't have nobody who can rush the edge. Well, we know we got people like Randy Gregory and all that stuff, but people don't forget he didn't come back until week 6 or week 7 last year. So we didn't have the talent to be able to switch the scheme like Mike Nolan wanted to do, which I think that was a problem. Now this year, I think Dan Quinn has the upper hand because he's able to put his hands on the players itself to be able to teach and do things and show them how we want to run it. So I think that was a great thing that Dan Quinn has for us. I do believe that we will be better. Now, granted, we got to see it. We definitely have to see it. We got to see, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch. We talked about them, being out of place last year. Leighton, he had came out and said that he feels comfortable right now because Dan is putting him back in place that he feel like he wanted to be in. So is that Mike? Is that Will? We don't know. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of communication was bad last year. We didn't have no communication skills. They talked about coaching as far as the coaching wasn't as good or wasn't as precise as it needs to be. So Dan Quinn is really going to, fine tune everything. Now I think we're still going to do the exact same thing as far as having a multiple defense. One week would probably 3-4. The next next week we would have more of a 4-3 look. But we got players who are able to do both now. So we got like Bohanna who can be up in the middle, who can be that zero. We got people who can run the edge like Golston and people, and also we got somebody Basham from the Jets who can run the edge as well. So we got players who can run that 3-4 or that 4-3 role the way we want to do it now with all the linebackers, the million linebackers that we already have. So I think it might be a little bit better. Moving forward this year, but like I say, with Dan Quinn, like teaching and being able to actually, have his players for OTA, for mini camp, for actually training camp this year, I think that's a plus.
Man, that's what's up, and I agree with you. I think I love everything you said about y'all defense. I think that y'all defense is going to be much improved. Like I said, Mike Nolan, I think he's just over the hill at this point. I think he need to go ahead and retire. I just think he's one of those guys that's kind of stuck in his ways, and the game has kind of passed him by because he's not willing to make the adjustments. Michael Walker says we never had a good front four, only Grady. And I can completely agree with that, Michael Walker. That's been a huge issue that we've had for years. I've talked about it numerous times, Wiz, that we got guys like Tat McKinley that did more talking than anything. He didn't do nothing on the field. He did all that talking in the when he got drafted. Get to the quarterback, and then do nothing.
Y'all looked good against the Cowboys last year.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. He did even in the Cowboys game. I think he started the game and he got injured in that Cowboys game. Yeah. So he stayed. He was one of those guys that stayed on the shelf. Mad Mike and the crew call him Tweety Bird around here because all he do is a bunch of talking and a bunch of talking. Basically, was all talk. So guys like Vic Beasley, when he was here, we didn't use him in the correct ways. Similar to what you were saying about Mike Nolan, just didn't know how to use the guys. Didn't place the guy's strength, and I think that's been a huge problem. For our Atlanta Falcons. Derek right here says Vic Beasley was a one-year wonder. I think that Vic Beasley actually was a solid edge rusher. I think that Vic Beasley was a guy that kind of was, I would say, misunderstood by Falcons fans. Like I tell everybody, the biggest problem or the biggest mistake Vic Beasley ever made was having that season that he led the league in sacks, because everybody thought when he had that 1 year he led the league in sacks, that he was about to be the second coming of a guy like John Abraham or something like that. But
who was on the opposite side of him though? Who was on the opposite side of Vic?
Vic, the opposite side was Tat McKinley, and then prior to Tat McKinley, we had a slew of guys the year we went to the Super Bowl. We had Brooks Reed was on our roster. We had Adrian Claiborne. I know you remember Adrian Claiborne, that one game when he had like 6 or 7 sacks against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to remind you about that game. But
I still quiver about that game. That's bad. Now, you want to talk about coaching? That's bad coaching right there. Never put nobody over there to chip them at all on that left side. So yeah, that was a problem.
So I mean, Vic Beasley, I just feel like this. Falcons fans are really hard on a guy like Vic Beasley, but every year he would be good for about 6 to 7 sacks, which if you look at today's game, that's what a lot of the decent pass rushers in the game are getting. If you go pull up, I looked at Khalil Mack's numbers about a month ago, and I brought it up and I talked about it in one of my videos on my channel. So just a quick plugger, y'all go over to Jew Talk Sports, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm on my the road to 2,000. Also hit that like and subscribe button at Atlanta Falcons Nation. But like I said, a guy like Khalil Mack had only, I think, 7.5 or 8 sacks last year. And we get mad at Vic Beasley. I think the last season he was here, he had like 7 or 8 sacks. So I think Vic Beasley was actually a solid player. And I believe the Falcons should have kept Vic Beasley around. That might be, that might not be a popular statement here, with Atlanta Falcons Nation. But personally, I back Vic Beasley. I think Vic Beasley was one of those guys that if he was used in the correct ways, I think he could have been a guy that could be a cog on a team. He's not the number one pass rusher for your team, but I definitely think in a rotation, Vic Beasley was a pretty solid player. And I think he kind of just lost his love for the game after a while, especially after leaving Atlanta, because he was from the state of Georgia. So once he left Atlanta and went to Tennessee, I think he got cut like mid-season there in Tennessee, but he was never the same player after leaving Atlanta. I think he kind of just lost his desire to play. But I do want to jump back into the chat because a couple more people came in and I didn't get to shout them out. Shout out to my boy Jay Rock. He in the building, Atlanta Falcons Nation, affiliate or crew member. Also, I think they said K Styles was in the building. But we're gonna say what's up to Big Mike because I didn't get to say what's up to him. Let's see. Shout outs to Harrison in the building. A lot of you guys, have snuck in here on me, but I appreciate we got about 51 of you guys in the chat. Continue to share out this. Continue to hit that like button for us. We appreciate you guys tuning in with us tonight. And there you go right here. My boy Just K Styles. Y'all go ahead and help your boy K Styles get to 1,000 subscribers as well. What's up, K Styles? But we're gonna jump into another topic. But as I was stating, Dan Quinn is just one of those guys. Like I said, I think it's gonna be an upgrade for you guys over Mike Nolan. I wish Dan Quinn nothing but the best. But I'm not too sure. I think another thing that's kind of gonna go overlooked, and I think could help Dan Quinn, is I feel like the Cowboys have better pass rushers than the Atlanta Falcons. Last year, I think you guys had a better front four, like the guys that you put up front. Other than Grady Jarrett, DeMarcus Lawrence, who's the other guy that y'all have? Randy Gregory. Y'all have some really talented guys up front, at least the edge players. To me, y'all interior players are not as good as ours. As far as Grady, to me, Grady's the best out of probably both of our defensive lines as far as overall. But as far as the edge guys, I think that that Randy Gregory is a very talented guy. If he can stay off, as they say, if he can stay off the weed, I think he's definitely one of those guys that can, he has a lot of talent. And then last year y'all had, what's the guy that went to Seattle? And I really like him a lot. Y'all didn't re-sign him.
He went to Seattle?
Alden Smith. Oh, I love Alden Smith. Yeah, Alden Smith is one of those guys that I wanted the Falcons to actually bring in. And we didn't sign him. I think he went to Seattle. And I was surprised that the Cowboys didn't re-sign Alden Smith because he's one of those guys that's a problem. He's big, long, fast. And before he actually was out of the league due to substance abuse, he was one of those guys that was on his way to being one of the greatest pass rushers of all time. As far as if you look at his sack numbers, he was one of those guys that's just a freak of nature. 6'6", long arms, athletic, physical, can bull rush, can do it all. Got great hands, and I was surprised that the Cowboys didn't bring him back. What's your thoughts on that?
Well,
What you think?
they kind of felt like he had lost a little bit after the first 5 games. They felt like he was his best the first 5 games. After that, you didn't hear much more from Alden Smith. Now he was always there. He always showed up. But I think with didn't have too many tackles for loss last year. Didn't get any more sacks after that 5th game. Everybody remember him from the Seattle game in general when he had 3 sacks on Russell Wilson. But I think the scheme, it was made for him. It was perfect for him when Mike Nolan started everything out. But I think once they started changing everything, he kind of became the hidden man. And I think that's what happened with Alden Smith, though. So that's why Jerry wanted him back. Jerry definitely wanted him back. I heard Mike McCarthy might have wanted him back as well. But as far as like any kind of scheme fit, like for what they're trying to do, I don't think he would have been, pretty much a scheme fit for us moving forward.
Yeah, but I love Alden Smith's game, man. But I wish him nothing but the best there in Seattle. But I wish the Falcons would have, looked at signing him, because I think he could have brought something, to our team, especially because he's a veteran guy that could have came in and did some things. And I think he might have a little bit more left in the tank than a guy like Justin Houston. He's a guy that we've been talking about. Justin Houston is a guy that we've been kind of talking about here in Atlanta Falcons Nation that we possibly should look at signing. But I think Alden Smith is a guy that's very underrated. He's a really, really underrated pass rusher.
And y'all running 3-4 next year.
Yeah.
Too. So he's perfect for that 3-4 edge rusher too. So who are able to stand up as well. So yeah, he definitely probably would have been a good fit for y'all moving forward.
All right, Wiz. So it's time to up the ante a little bit. It's about to get real. Some predictions. This is something that Mad Mike hates. Him and K Styles, they kind of stay away from predictions, especially Mad Mike. He hates predictions. And to be honest, from last year, I should hate predictions as well, because I said the Falcons were going 12-4, I think I said, and we went 4-12. So hopefully this year my predictions are right. But last year my predictions were terrible. On the heavy hitter show, I said we were going to go 12-4. We end up going 4-12. So what's your thoughts on, you can go Cowboys and Falcons if you want to give a record for both, or if you just want to stick to the Cowboys side of things, I'm going to take care of the Falcons side of things. So what you think with the Cowboys? You think y'all winning the division? And what's your record? What's your call?
I definitely think we would win the division this year. People fail to remember that, Washington only won 7 games last year. I mean, it won't like they just they were like world beaters. I do think when we get our offensive line back with Tyron Smith or Leo Collins, what's my guy, the general in the middle, and with Dak, I think we'll be okay. I think as far as like offense wise, I do think we got at least a top 5 offense for sure. Defense, I just need Dan Quinn to get us to the halfway mark. That's it. I don't need to have a top 10 defense. I just need him to give us 14, 15, 16. If he can move us up there, I think we'll be all right. Trying to think. Maybe I go 11-6 this year. We got 17 games, right?
Yeah, we got 17 games this year.
I go 11-6.
11-6 and winning the NFC East.
Yeah. I'm not gonna move like Michael Irvin and be like 12-4, like how we did, like how he predicted on Rich Eisen. I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah, Mike Irvin need to be drug tested. When he be saying the stuff he be saying, I be like, come on, Michael Irvin. I know you're a former Cowboy, but keep it real with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's some games that I'm worried about. We got Kansas City this year. We have of course Tampa Bay this year. We got the Saints this year. Now the Saints is kind of iffy because I don't know who's gonna be their quarterback. So are they going with Taysom Hill this year?
Who? The Saints?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Jameis Winston, to be honest with you. But if he starts struggling, they might do a quarterback by committee, and we know that that's never a recipe for success when you're doing quarterback by committee. But I think Jameis Winston legitimately is going to win the starting job. I can see Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill probably is going to be that Swiss Army knife type dude. He's going to play H-back, tight end, wide receiver, kickoff return, punt. He do pretty much everything. I don't see him as a starting quarterback. I really think it's going to be Jameis, barring injury. But who you think will be the biggest threat to you guys over in the NFC East to compete for that crown there?
Oh, it definitely be Washington for sure. It definitely be Washington. I'm not. Falcons. Not say Falcons. Excuse me. Eagles are in. No, they in rebuild mode. I don't trust Daniel Jones, even though I know they got weapons with Galladay and everybody else that he signed. They signed a guy out of Florida. I think wide receiver out of Florida, I believe. They first
Who's that?
round wide receiver. The Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got
So
the guy out of Florida.
they got a
I
Florida.
was surprised they drafted him so high. I think that they kind of reached for that position because
Yeah.
they wanted the kid that went to Alabama, but they didn't get him Smith.
Right.
They couldn't
Right.
get him. He signed with was drafted by the Eagles because they traded up, but they
Right.
end up going with I can't think of his name, but I know he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's signed with got drafted by the Giants. He's
The
like
Giants.
he's like a scat kind of wide receiver. He reminds me of Turbo Taylor Gabriel when we had him.
Right.
One of those smallish wide receivers, but he's a guy that plays the slot a lot.
Right.
So
Yeah, I don't trust Daniel Jones. Me personally, I don't. I mean, I know they got a good defense over there, good young defense over there. But it's gonna be Washington. I really don't trust. I never seen people give Fitzmagic so much love all of a sudden. They feel like he's gonna be the savior over there. But I mean, with the defense that they got, it's definitely enough for you to worry. But I definitely think that it'd be between us and Washington for sure.
yeah, and I couldn't think of his name. We were talking about Kadarius Toney. That's what we were talking about. Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Yeah, yep. I think he's explosive, and you can use him kind of like a Percy Harvin, where he can do some different things. I don't know if he's on the level of Percy, because Percy was one of those guys. If he could have stayed healthy, we know coming from that Virginia area that Percy was a different beast as far as returning punts and kicks and stuff like that. He's a college legend, but Kadarius Toney, I think that was kind of a reach. I thought he should have went no earlier than the second or third round, and he went in. I think that was their first round pick. So I definitely think the Giants kind of reach, especially because they have Kenny Galladay that they brought in, and to me they had enough wide receivers. I would have probably went with a wide receiver later in the draft. I think they kind of reached there, but I want to talk Falcons record. Unless you wanted to go ahead, did you want to take a shot at the Falcons predicting our record or?
Who y'all got this year? I mean, what's y'all schedule?
Our schedule it's not that bad. We have, I think now you're gonna make me pull up the actual schedule, but I think we have. I don't know if we have NFC East. Do we have NFC East this year? I think we do play. I know we play you guys, but I'm trying to think that we play the whole NFC. We do. We play NFC East because our first game is against the Eagles. So we have NFC East. Then, of course, we have the NFC South games, the interconference games. And then in the AFC side, I think we play the AFC East. So we play at the Patriots, the Jets, the Bills. We play in the Dolphins, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That's the AFC side.
That could be besides the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins probably give y'all a little bit of a run with the defense they have over there. But other than that, I mean, that could be 4 easy dubs right there. I mean, a lot of people giving the Saints a lot of love this year. I don't trust Jameis Winston. Me personally, you said Jameis Winston gonna be their starter. I know their defense is good, but I don't trust Jameis. Me personally, so I mean, y'all can easily, do y'all thing against the Saints this year too, as well. So I mean, who else is in y'all division? The Saints, Tampa Bay, right?
We have Tampa Bay, the Panthers, and the Saints.
Okay. And the Panthers are still up and coming too, as well. So I mean, I definitely probably give you. I don't know who. See, I gotta regularize y'all whole schedule. I don't know your whole schedule this year.
Yeah. So pretty much it's like it goes a little something like this: Jets, the Patriots, the Bills, pretty much the Dolphins. That's the 4 AFC East teams. So I think in that I'll say we'll win at least maybe 2. We'll probably go 3 and 4 out of those, I think, because the Patriots have kind of taken a step back with Cam as a quarterback, and they have a quarterback carousel. I think we're going to blow the Jets out. We play them in London, and, they have Zach Wilson at quarterback, and I think Dean P is going to get ready to blitz him to death. So I think we're going to kill them, I think. And then the only team in that division that I'm really worried about, to be honest with you, I think the toughest 2 games are going to be the Dolphins and the Bills. Because, the Bills, I think, made the AFC Championship game. Right. And they're pretty solid on defense and on offense. And I like their offensive coordinator. And then on the as far as the Dolphins, I love Brian Flores as a head coach. To me, he's hard-nosed. Yeah. A defensive-minded coach. They have a really good defense.
Yeah, good defense over there.
Great secondary. a great front four. They don't have the best linebackers. That's kind of where they struggle, but they're really good as far as the defensive line, and they're good in that secondary. So I definitely think that the Dolphins is going to be a tough game. I think that the Dolphins will kind of struggle because we don't know what Tua. I don't know what Tua is. Really, to me, Tua has to show me a little bit more. Right. So, but as far as our record, I'll say Falcons. I've been saying 12-5, no worse than 11-7, 11-6. 11-6. So I say 12-5, 11-6 at worst. But I've guaranteed here at Atlanta Falcons Nation a playoff berth. I said, looking at this schedule with Arthur Smith, calling the plays on the offensive side of things, and us understanding clock management, because last year we know what the clock management was horrible. Right. We lost a lot of games that we had big leads in, and I don't see that happening with a guy like Arthur Smith. He understands the importance of running the football, draining clock, icing the game. And I think that Dean Pease is going to be very versatile on the defensive side of the ball and calling things. But with that being said, I kind of want to jump back into the chat so they don't think we forgot about them. But they've been popping. They've been popping up their records, their predictions. Big Mike says 11-6. And I've seen a lot of you guys 9-8. A lot of them are saying 9-8 for the Cowboys. Wiz, I don't know if that's hate for the. I don't know if that's Cowboys.
That sounds like some hate. Because y'all can't do 8-8 no more. I see.
Well, I see some Facebook users say y'all going 11-6. So hey, he got some love. He said Cowboys. He said Cowboys 11-6. And look, he said Falcons 10-7. Is this a Cowboys fan? This might be a low key Cowboys fan.
Hey, I'll take it. I respect it.
We got Dex Diggs says 11-6. You're in the right ballpark. Miss Asia with me says 12-5. Okay. Floyd says 12-5. I completely agree with that, Floyd. I think you right in the ballpark. 10-6. Derek, is this for the Cowboys or for the Falcons? But I definitely think that the Falcons will go no worse than 11-6, and probably at best 12-5. And the reason I think that we're going to be somewhere in that range, I would say we will win more games, but this is Arthur Smith's first year. So to be fair, Matt Ryan is learning a new scheme. Good news is Arthur Smith keeps things simple. He does run great. He does have a great offensive mind, and he can do some great things as far as drawing up plays and scheming guys open. But he's a guy that predicates everything off of the run. So that's one thing that I love about a guy like Arthur Smith. I definitely love that it's going to be the Kyle Shanahan. Derek in the building says, how about them Cowboys? So we got a Cowboy.
Let's go, Derek. I like that.
You got one in the building. We're behind enemy lines, but we got one in the chat. So
we got to stay together, Derek.
Yeah, shout outs to you, Derek. As we always say here at Atlanta Falcons Nation, no matter what team you root for, everybody's welcome here. We appreciate it. We love just giving you guys knowledgeable, the stats, facts, and truth about football in general. But my boy, I told you guys, my boy Wiz is real knowledgeable when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys and just when it comes to football in general. Let me see here. Tony Wright says Dolphins, Bills, 49ers will be the Falcons' toughest opponents. I can agree with you there. Those all going to be tough games, especially against the Bills, because that's in like December and it's going to be in Buffalo. So, it's going to be real.
It's cold.
It's going to be real. I think that's like one of our last 6. I think that's one of the last 6 games that we play this year. It's going to be like in November, December, if I'm not mistaken, in Buffalo. So it's going to be cold, and we're a dome team. So I definitely think that that's going to be a game where it's going to be, bruises, and that's going to be a rough game because it's going to be a game where we're going to have to pound the rock with Mike Davis. But just to go back to what I was saying, and I do see you guys in the chat. Fred Butt says 12-5. I'm assuming that's for the Falcons. Let's see. And that's pretty much all I see here. Tony Wright says 12-5 as well. So it sounds like y'all in the same vein with me. I hope I'm right and we don't go 5-12 this year. Like last year when we went 4-12 and I said we're going 12-4, but hopefully we don't jinx the team. But like I was saying, I think we go 12-5, 11-6 at worst. For the Cowboys side of things, you guys should win your division, even though we say that every year. The Cowboys should win the division. I don't know. Barring injuries, and I really don't know because I think that the Washington football team is up and coming. They're up and coming. They have a really strong defensive line and a really strong defense in general. I think that back end, they still have to get better on the back end of things. But in that front seven, they can get after the quarterback, and everything is going to come down to coaching. I really think that that's the biggest issue and has been the biggest issue with the Falcons and the Cowboys is coaching the last couple of years. We all know that the Falcons have always been talented on offense and on defense. We've been talented. The Cowboys has been extremely talented as well on the offensive side of things, but they had the injury bug, bite them last year. They were snake bitten. Dak Prescott, that's another thing that's going to be a big elephant in the room. Dak Prescott, is he completely healthy? Is he going to trust his ankle? You know what I'm saying? When you get your ankle, rolled up on, you get a broken leg or a broken ankle, is he going to be optimistic, or is he going to be willing to run for a first down, or is he going to second guess things? So I say the Cowboys should win the y'all division. I do think that y'all from top to bottom are the most talented team in that division. I feel like the Eagles have taken a step back due to them losing Carson Wentz and them having the young Jalen Hurts there at the quarterback position. So I think that their team kind of slowly rebuilding, especially on the offensive things, offensive side of things. And they have a new coaching staff with the Eagles because they fired Doug Peterson. So I'm really thinking that the Cowboys, if you guys are going to win the division, this is y'all year. The Washington football team, I like Ron Rivera. He came from the Carolina Panthers. He was one of those guys when he was here in Carolina. He took them to that 15-1 season. They always had great defenses because, as you know, Ron Rivera was one of those guys who was a part of the 85 Bears. He was a linebacker on that team. So he's one of those no-nonsense head coaches. Shout outs to Ron Rivera. He was battling cancer last year. So shout outs to him for beating cancer. But he's definitely, to me, I think he's the best coach in you guys' division. Now, to me, I think that they will be, other than the Giants, I think that they will be y'all biggest competitors because of that defense and because of the coaching staff there. I think that they're the best coaching staff in you guys' division. But as far as talent from top to bottom, I think that the Cowboys is the most talented team. Matt Mike says Cowboys should win the division. Washington just isn't ready. Can't win without a quality quarterback. And you said it all right there, man, Mike. I completely agree with you, bro. And you guys make sure you go and hit that like, subscribe button for my boy, Mad Mike. I think he's on the road to 6K, 6,000 subscribers. So the big homie, y'all definitely go over and hit that subscribe button there as well. But I completely agree. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, whatever you want to call him, we all know he starts out balling, kind of like Cinderella, but it seemed like that clock always strike midnight with him. For whatever reason, after like a good 4 or 5 games, it seems like he turns back into a pumpkin. So I definitely think that quarterback play is key. So I think that they made a mistake. I don't know what's drafting Chase Young if that was a mistake, but I do think that the Washington football team should have went after a quarterback in the draft. I really think that they should have passed on a quarterback and went with Fitzmagic. I'm not a big fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he's a journeyman backup. That's what I consider him. Now, can he have one of those Cinderella type seasons like the one quarterback that was playing for the Vikings? I forget his name. You remember the quarterback that played for the Vikings 2 years ago and they got to the NFC Championship game?
Chase.
I forget his name now, but he kind of had one of those magical carpet rides the year that they lost to the Eagles. It was 2017. I can't think of it, but if my brother-in-law was here, he would know because, he's a Vikings fan. But whatever his name was, that's who he puts me in the mind of. I don't think that that Washington is ready either. And then the Giants, to me, is the wild card in y'all division. I really think that the Giants, because of the upgrades they made on the
Case Keenum, that's his name.
Case Keenum, there we go. I appreciate that in the chat. That's who Ryan Fitzmagic reminds me of. Can he have one of those magic carpet ride type seasons? I could see it happening, but
I don't think so. I think he's a placeholder. I think he's a placeholder until that boy Taylor Heineke get up to snuff. Me personally, I think he'll give you 3 solid good games at the beginning. What's good for us is that we play them later in the year, so we play them like within weeks of each other. So I think our first game like week 14. And the next time we play them is week 16. So we'll know by week 14 who we playing. We're gonna be still playing, fix Magic or we're gonna be playing Heineke. So, but I think he's a placeholder. I don't think he. I think he'll give you some great games. And I think in some games that he'll turn the ball over. That's just who he is.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think he's a turnover waiting to happen, but he played well for Miami last year, and I think that they kind of did him dirty. But I understand that Tua was sitting behind him, and he was a high draft pick, so you kind of had to give. They kind of had to see what they had sitting behind them, and I figured that midway through the season, Tua would probably take over as the quarterback because they drafted him so high. But if it was me, I think that they should have let Fitzpatrick, finish the year, because to me he started off so well, and the guys were behind him in that locker room. So I think kind of when they tried to insert Tua, force Tua back into the start lineup, I think that kind of ruined things for Miami, and they end up not making the playoffs. So we're gonna see what Fitzmagic does. I want to shout out my boy Twisted Torch. I seen him here in the chat because he said something that I just stated as well. He said that he thinks the Giants are going to be a wild card. I'm trying to find this comment. I can't find it. There it is. Well, Twisted Torch, the Cowboys got the offense, but is DQ going to be able to get their defense good? Good point. That's a good point. And that's what we kind of talked about a little bit earlier is we know what Dan Quinn's, look, as I say, his sins were. We all know what Dan Quinn, what he struggled with. He struggled with making adjustments. He didn't do a good job of making adjustments. So I think that's going to be the biggest issue when it comes to Dan Quinn is he going to make adjustments? Is he going to get stuck in his, and when things get tough, revert back to that cover 3 at all costs? But I definitely think that Dallas is the most talented team in that division. So I'll say you guys go 10 and 7? I'll say 10 and 7, Wiz. I'll say 10 and 7. I think Dallas at least goes 10 and 7. But it could go either way because y'all division to me is so weird. You never know when you underestimate a team in y'all division, because I didn't see the Giants being, doing as well as they did last season. I was really shocked to see Giants with their first year head coach and Joe Judge, who I had no idea who he was. I knew he came from that New England tree, but I didn't think that he was going to be a good head coach. And he actually coached those boys up, and they played pretty well. I mean, they upset Seattle at Seattle. Yeah. They had some big wins last year, and I was really surprised to see that team they was like right in the mix. Even though y'all division was really bad last year, they was in the mix for competing for the NFC East crown. So I really think that
Daniel Jones for you. That's what it is, Daniel Jones. I don't trust him. Don't get me wrong. I know he have weapons coming back. Saquon is coming back this year. Let's see. I think he tore his Achilles last year. So we pretty much got to see what he do this year. I know they got Galladay. They still got Shepard. They got Tony from Florida. They still got number 82. I can't even remember his name. He's actually a good wide receiver as well. So they got weapons over there. I just don't trust the quarterback. That's just me. I just don't. I don't trust it at all. So, he went all year through 11 touchdowns.
Yeah,
he didn't get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you. When they drafted Daniel Jones, I was like, I didn't really like the pick because I heard that the coach, quarterback coach or something like that, coached the Mannings. I think it was Eli Manning or Peyton Manning, and that's the reason why they really liked him. But when they drafted him, I was like, he played college ball at Duke. I didn't really know a whole lot about him. Didn't see enough out of him. He kind of put me in the mind, and I hate to bring up this name, but Mitchell Trubisky. That's when I got Mitchell Trubisky vibes when they drafted him, because I'm like, who? Especially with the Deshaun Watson being on. With Deshaun Watson still being on the board, like the Bears took Mitchell Trubisky. I'm like, who in the world is Mitchell Trubisky from North Carolina? Only started one season in college. Like, I definitely thought that they reached for a guy like the Giants quarterback. I definitely think they reached for Daniel Jones. I think he's more athletic than a lot of people realize. But like you said, to only throw 11 touchdown passes in pretty much a full season, I'm not really feeling that. And I think that's where they'll kind of struggle. But first, let's hit this super chat. Showing love, y'all are giving us a great show tonight. And we got to ring the Yeah, shout outs to shout outs to Teacher Red on the $5 super chat. We appreciate you donating. Like I said, all donations go to the channel to continue to help the channel grow. We appreciate the super chat, the $5 holla, as I say around here. But we're gonna open it up with now we've kind of gotten through some of the questions that I want to talk about. I don't know if you want to get into the Q&A portion of the show, or do you want to talk Falcons? Look, it says Falcons and Falcons, but it should be Falcons and Cowboys matchup. But it's kind of early, so we're gonna bring you back on the show to talk Cowboys, Falcons. But if you want to talk about it briefly, we're gonna just give them a little sample. Don't give them too much. Just give them a little sample, and then we're gonna open it up for Q&A. But like, if you want to talk briefly about the matchup between the Cowboys, like weaknesses, strengths, just briefly. We're not gonna give them too much because we're gonna bring you back on the show.
Yeah, I think I think it'll be the battle of the offenses. Me personally, I think it's gonna be who can move the ball better between the two offenses. I think the defense is gonna be finding their way. I think we play y'all a little later in the year though. I think we play y'all either right before our bye or right after our bye. I think our bye is week 7 this year. So I think we'll know pretty much who we are before we actually start playing. So that's probably the only thing I could probably give you. I think the strength is going to be the offenses and the weak is going to be the defenses right now.
Okay, most definitely. And look, Wiz, it look like they showing you love, man. They say we got to definitely bring you back on the show. They love you tonight, man. So we appreciate you. Hey, look, man, I told y'all this my bro, man. The chemistry is real. But I told you guys he was real knowledgeable. But most definitely, man. And look, the wife said ring the bell. Yeah, man. We appreciate the donations. And we're going to get ready to open it up for Q&A. I'm not going to talk too much Falcons, Cowboys, because I'm going to bring you back with. So we want to open it up for the fans. So I'm going to let them go ahead. And look, we got another super chat in the building. Hey. And look, y'all got to see the victory bell. Anytime we get a super chat in the building, we got the victory bell. And hopefully we hear that victory bell a lot more this season. Wiz, I know this is your first time on the show, but I always say next year, you know how the Falcons, when we score a touchdown, you got the train horn. Well, if we get a win, every win this season, that's the victory bell. So on the post-game show, if we get a win, and hopefully it's more than 4 wins like last year's season, I can ring the victory bell. But we appreciate that. VA says gotta show both big bros love tonight. Bear down. So he's repping the Chicago Bears. As I told you guys,
love you, bro.
My family is all Chicago, Chicago everything. Bulls, Bears, White Sox, Cubs. So shout outs to my bro repping the Chicago Bears. But as we said, $5 holla, $4.99 super chat. So we appreciate that. But we're gonna go ahead and jump in, open up the fan Q&A. This is something I do on every show, Wiz. If you didn't know, we're going to open it up to the fans. And you can ask any question that you want. It doesn't have to be just about the Atlanta Falcons, but if you have questions about the Dallas Cowboys, since we have the Cowboys aficionado in here, he's going to give you guys his thoughts, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. But I'm not going to, belabor the time or whatever. So if you guys have some questions, definitely drop that in the chat. But we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Let's see. Mr. Lee says, I don't know. I don't think the Cowboys have a beautiful offensive line. So I see Atlanta winning. Hey, and I completely agree. Of course, I'm going to say that the Atlanta Falcons are going to win because personally, I'm just biased. I think we're going to go undefeated. Like anytime we play anybody, I said we can beat anytime, anywhere. We can beat any team. So I definitely think that when that game, the Cowboys and Falcons match up, I definitely think that it's going to be a game where we're going to put up a lot of points. Wiz, I kind of said we're going to drop 40 on y'all in like 2 shows ago. I said that we're going to probably drop 40 on y'all because I had that feeling that Dan Quinn is going to go in that cover 3. And if he go into that cover 3, we know we just seen what happens to that cover 3. I've seen it firsthand here in Atlanta. So we gonna see, but Kyle Pitts, Hayden Hurst, Calvin Ridley, them guys gonna be licking their chops. Matt Ryan, if he brings that cover 3 out, it's gonna get interesting.
See, I'm interested. I'm interested. How y'all going to use Kyle Pitts? I mean, are you going to line him up at a tight end? Are you flex him out wide? Would you use a Hayden Hurts in and bring him in and put him on the line as well? Definitely interested. Now, of course, I can't say that y'all going to beat us. You know what I mean? Hey, at the end of the day, I'm a Cowboy fan now, so I got to say that we're going to beat y'all next year. But I think that's going to be a task for the defense, though. I think like definitely figuring out how you're going to line up next year, especially around that time. What they're gonna do? We know really gonna be on the outside, but they got other people too. You still got Gage, right? Gage is still over here.
You said Gage?
Russell
Yeah,
Gage
we
still
still
over?
got Russell Gage. Yeah, we loaded, man. We got
Yeah,
Russell Gage.
yeah,
Then a guy named Frank Darby at wide receiver that we drafted. He played at Arizona State, and he was
right.
coached by Herman Edwards. So Herman Edwards don't play no games. The former Jets head coach in the NFL.
For
He's
sure.
now coaching college. So we have a lot of weapons, man. Javion Hawkins is another guy that we have that's deadly as far as a running back. He's like a scat back, a guy
Right.
kind of like Cam Akers that played for the Rams. He's good at catching the ball out of the backfield,
Yeah.
and he's elusive. So we got a lot of weapons,
Yeah.
man. I mean, but the Cowboys have a lot of weapons too. So look, on this question, Mr. Lee, we said we were gonna get him a little bit. So Mr. Lee think he's slick. We said we're gonna give y'all a little
I
taste.
know, right?
He
But
wins back during the season.
hey,
We're gonna talk a little bit about
no.
that matchup.
Lee, I answer this question though, but I answer this question. But you're right. As far as the offensive line, is not the way it used to be. I definitely give you that. But it's better than having Lyle Collins, Tyron Smith, who y'all didn't see last year. Y'all didn't see Lyle or Tyron Smith last year. And with the turnovers that we had, of course Dak fumbled. I think Tony Pollard fumbled, Zeke fumbled, and we had Schultz who fumbled as well. So we had some fumbles that happened within the first 4 or 5 drives that mounted that lead. So we could just keep the ball in our hands, and also and let Dak do what he do. I think we'd be all right. After I said this could be a game of offense. It got to be a game of offense. So
Look,
if y'all dropping 40, we going 40 with y'all.
yeah, man. Hey, look, I'm trying to get somebody to drop a $40 super chat in the building. But the bro coming through, he said, "Can we get a super chat train started?" Hey, man. Hey, look,
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it, BA in the building showing some love, man. Hey, look, if we can get somebody, we can get the train started. We appreciate it, bro. But like you said, man, I think that it's gonna be very, very interesting. But VA dropped another $4.99, $5 holla. So I really appreciate the support of VA. I really appreciate that. And we got another $5 super chat. And it's the Queen, Miss Maggie T, in the building.
Hey, ring the bell.
I'm gonna need to get somebody to swing. I'm gonna need to hang this drink up so we can just swing on the phone. But look, man, we appreciate that, Miss Maggie, with the super chat of $5, the $5 holla. We appreciate it. But I want to get into you guys questions as well. But we appreciate that, Miss Maggie, with the $5. Hey, look, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. But I appreciate it getting it started, VA. But this is a good question here. He says, "What player on the Washington football team are you both most afraid of than Chase Young?" You want me to take that one first, Wiz, or you want to go ahead? Yeah, I guess this would be any defensive player. I mean, any player. Excuse me. I think this could be any player. Don't have to be defense. He just said, "What player you fear the most on Washington?"
Right. What's my guy that's on the other opposite side of Chase? It might be what's his name?
Is he the defensive tackle, or he the
Montez Sweat?
Oh, Montez Sweat. Okay, he the defensive end.
Yeah.
Before you go with that, Wiz, hold on, man. They trying to start something up tonight, man. J Rock in the building with a $5.
There you
go. We appreciate that, man. We appreciate the $5 holla, as we say over here at Jew Talk Sports. But go ahead, man. You said you think that Montez Sweat is gonna be that guy?
Montez. Yeah, I think when you got a dog on the other side of you, that makes everything scarier. And I think even when you want to jump way back to when we were talking about Vic Beasley, I think when you got to worry about Vic Beasley going for 20-some sacks one year, and all of a sudden you seem like you fell off. When you don't got a dog on the other end, you allow offensive lines just to be able to double team you all day long, double team, chip you out of the backfield, tight ends chipping at you before they have to go out there and run their route. So that's why it's very important to have somebody else on that opposite side. And I think when you have someone like Chase Young, who got a dog like Montez Sweat, and he got the Payne in the middle. I mean, you got some guys that's really out there that's doing their thing. When you can have one-on-one all the time, that's will make everything much scarier. That's why you got to look at Washington as a defense, they front seven as scary as they is.
Yeah. I'll say, to me, for Washington, the player I fear the most, I'll say on the defensive side of the ball, it's gonna be Jonathan Allen. I think he's their defensive tackle. He's a handful. He played at Alabama. They got him and Deron Payne. And anybody that's watched my channel or watched Atlanta Falcons Nations, any of our shows, Kicking It with K Styles on Monday nights, the heavy hitter shows, which we do during the season on Tuesday nights, I always talk about defensive line, trenches. That's what everything starts with, me in the trenches. So I think that Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, those two guys in the middle, I think everything starts with Jonathan Allen. To me, if he can stay healthy out of Alabama, to me, he's the engine for that defense. Chase Young, I think, is solid. I do think that he has a chance to be a special talent, him and Montez Sweat. But that whole defensive line there in Washington is vicious. They have a really good front seven. So I definitely think that with Ron Rivera coaching those guys, a guy who played with the 85 Bears that knows about defense, and he's a defensive guru, I definitely think that they're going to do some things over there in Washington. And I think that Jonathan Allen is the guy I fear the most, because your nose tackle is the closest guy to the quarterback. So if you have that pocket, collapsing, that's what's going to allow those guys off the edge to penetrate, and get around the edge. Montez sweating those guys, and that's what the Falcons have been missing. We need us a Jonathan Allen. I mean, we have Grady, but we don't have that big 6'5", 6'6", 6'4", 325, 330 pounder. And to me, that's what you need, especially because now we're running at 3'4". Like Grady's like 305, 6 foot 305. He's not really known as a space eater. I consider Grady Jarrett a pass rusher, at the nose position, or at that, he's a tweener.
Sure. No, for sure.
So I think we need one of those monsters. Yeah, that was a great question. You got a question in the chat, Wiz. He says, how do you feel about Dak Prescott contract? Jamari Williams.
Well, I'm happy he got paid. Me and Drew talked about this a lot, leading up to his contract. Me personally always said that I didn't think he will be a $40 million player. But I didn't think he was a weak person as well. So, I mean, I'm happy he got paid. I think the way they structured his contract kind of helped the team, only getting paid what he getting paid. A lot of people look at it that he getting paid 70-something million this year, but he only counting against 22 million of the books. So, this year going to be 22 million. I think next year going to be 30 million. And then the year after that going to be like 33 before it actually spikes up to like 45, 50. So, I'm glad he got paid because Dak is my boy. I'm definitely a diehard Dak fan. But I guess it's the price of paying business right now. Dallas messed that up, though. They definitely messed it up. I think they should have paid him 2 years ago. But right now, it's $40 million. That's the going rate, so that's what we got to pay him.
Oh, yeah, man. Shout-outs to VA again, man. He said he going to keep the $5 hollers coming. We appreciate it, man. $5 super chat, $5 holler from the bro. He says, last one for the night from me, bro. Love you, man. What your channel is becoming, you were made for this, G. Hey, man, I appreciate it. And that's the little bro, man. We appreciate that, VA, for the super chats. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys who send the super chats. Like I said, the super chats, the cash apps. If you would like to send a cash app, it's the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you want to give a super chat, you can definitely do that right here through YouTube. But we really appreciate it. Like I said, it goes to help grow the channel. And everything you guys give, we're definitely going to give it back. Not just me, but Atlanta Falcons Nation. We're going to be doing giveaways when the season starts. So I appreciate you guys. Mad Mike Sports. We appreciate you, big homie. Mike. Wiz, are you concerned about Zeke's possible decline? That's a good question right there.
That's a great question. I mean, knowing that we paid him $90 million, a little bit. I would say I am a little bit concerned about his decline. Now, granted, we all have seen the videos that he's putting on Twitter and Instagram about him working out the way he's doing. He definitely been working on his footwork, as you can see. Definitely, definitely trying to get quicker feet to be able to go in and out of his cuts. Look like he got leaner. It looked like he lost a little bit to me. But I'm grateful that we got Tony Pollard in the backfield as well. So we got somebody who in the back chopping at the bit to get every chance that he can get. Who got that breakaway speed that I think Zeke lost. I do think he lost that. I hope he proves me wrong this year, but it's a little bit of concern. Now, granted, we didn't have our line neither last year too, so I think having our line back will definitely help out a little bit. But with Zeke is a wait and see. I think if he doesn't do anything, they might make a move. Me personally, y'all heard it from here first. But I think with Tony Pollard, I think he might be okay.
Look at the wife. I'm gonna ring that doggone bell. Hold on, let me do it for her. Look, I don't want to hurt the guest ears, but there y'all go, man. We're gonna ring that bell. Look, hopefully I can ring it a whole lot this year.
Y'all good. Ring the bell.
Yeah, hopefully I can ring that bell a whole lot this season with wins. But I do appreciate Mad Mike, and great question. And look, I want to answer the doggone question, but that was a great question. I was one of those guys that's been saying last year, Zeke to me, I don't know what it was. I don't know if he was pressing because Dak Prescott was out and he was trying to carry the whole team on his shoulders. Yeah. But he had fumbleitis last year, man. I was like, what's up with Zeke? Because Zeke was not known for a guy when he was at Ohio State, that wouldn't fumble the ball. He wasn't known for fumbling the ball. So the last couple of years, I don't know if it's just mental, but he's been fumbling the ball a lot. But the key thing that you said, Wiz, I really think that y'all need to use Tony Pollard. I really think that Tony Pollard is a guy that can be the next running back for you guys, and definitely could be that running back by committee. Because here at Atlanta Falcons Nation, we've been saying it, and I've been saying it on my channel as well. I believe in running back by committee. It's the new wave of the NFL. Like that, the days of the bell cows is over. Just having one running back and you just run him into the ground. You remember when you guys had DeMarco Murray? He had that one season where you guys, before y'all got rid of him, they ran him into the ground. He went to Philly and he was never the same. So I definitely think that Tony Pollard is the guy that y'all should use, not just in special teams, because I think he's a guy that can do the kickoff returns, but I think you guys need to use him a lot more when it comes to as far as throwing the ball out of the backfield, like on third downs and things of that nature. Tony Pollard is more elusive than Zeke. And to me, he has that burst that Zeke doesn't have anymore. Once he hits a crease, Tony Pollard's gone. So I love Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
But BCJ.
We got a little thing this year.
Yeah,
we got a little thing this year too. Talking about that, we don't play him out of the slot.
Oh, okay. Well, before we get to that, Jay, I just want to get that quick super chat here. BCJ, he says, "Do you think Mike Davis is similar to Mike Turner?" So first off, so thank you for the super chat, BCJ, with the $2. He says, "Do you think Mike Davis is similar to Mike Turner?" I definitely think that he has a lot of similarities. Similarities. Is he Michael Turner? Michael Turner was one of the greatest running backs to ever lace him up for Atlanta Falcons. Jamal Anderson, Michael Turner, Warwick Dunn. We've had a lot of good running backs here in Atlanta. So even the Devontae Freeman years and the Tevin Coleman tandem, that was a pretty good tandem as well. But we've had some really explosive backs. I do think that Mike Davis, is similar to Michael Turner. But I think Michael Turner I'll say the jury's still out on that. I think that they're built similar. Both are low to the ground, great at breaking tackles. Mike Davis is one of those guys last year out of the running back position that had a lot of yards after contact. And I think that that's something that Michael Turner was great at, is yards after contact. And I think that their build, like I said, both of them had legs like tree trunks. I don't know, Jay, have you seen that picture of Mike Davis where they showed his legs, but his legs look like a turkey leg. His leg look huge. Yeah, he built like a tree stump. So he's a hard guy to tackle because we all know in football the low man wins. And Michael Turner was one of those guys that was low to the ground, stubby, strong. And Mike Davis is another one of those guys that I think is really strong. That's a picture of N'Keal Harris. There it is. That's the picture we were looking for.
I
You
don't
see
want to hit
that?
that dude. I don't want to hit
Yeah,
that dude.
yeah. Leg looks like
Nah,
a turkey leg.
you can't even go
Yeah,
low on him.
yeah, exactly. That dude is built. I think K Styles called him Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg lifting weights. Yeah, that dude right there is really, really, really big, really, sturdy, stout, and a guy that's, like I said, is low to the ground. So it's gonna be really hard to tackle him, hard to wrap a guy like that up because of his leverage and his low center of gravity. So I definitely think that Mike Davis is similar to Michael Turner. I've made a video on Mike Davis on my channel. I think it was a while ago, maybe like when we signed him actually. And I mentioned that he's similar to a Michael Turner. I'm not too sure which one of those guys are faster because we call Turner the burner because he was one of those guys that could fool you. Like if Michael Turner hit a crease, he could actually go the distance. Even though he was a big guy, he had great straight line speed. So I definitely could see Mike Davis being one of those guys similar to a Michael Turner. So that was a great comment. Derek says, Jew, who's the Falcons player who you are wanting to see on the Falcons? Me personally, is Olsen. So I'm guessing he's saying who I want to see more of from the Falcons. I would say I love Javion Hawkins. Javion Hawkins and Kyle Pitts. Like you guys know, when Kyle Pitts, I basically was infatuated with that dude. Once the draft, they basically was talking about us at the number 4 pick, and I actually went and watched tape because it wasn't until maybe midway through the draft process that I actually started looking at offensive players. And once I seen the tape on Kyle Pitts, I was smiling from ear to ear. And I was saying, if you go back and look at any of our shows, our live shows, I was like, Kyle Pitts is the pick. Kyle Pitts is the pick. And Wiz can attest. Every time we talked about the draft, what was I saying, Wiz? Like Kyle Pitts, hands down, Kyle Pitts. Even though Jerry Jones wanted him, and I know Dallas wanted him, I was like, hey, you can't pass up this generational talent, man. This dude is 6'5",
for sure.
Long arms, can run routes, and pretty much, like I said, built like Megatron. So I definitely think that Kyle Pitts and my sleeper is Javion Hawkins. I love Javion Hawkins. He wasn't actually drafted. He was an undrafted free agent that we brought in after the draft. But if you go pull up his tape, Wiz, you will love Javion Hawkins. Pretty much every play is a highlight reel. This dude's running 30, 40 yards. He played at Louisville, but that dude is special. He reminds me a lot of Antone Smith when we had Antone Smith. It seemed like every time Antone Smith would touch the ball, he was going for a 40 or 50-yard gain. So I definitely think with a creative offensive mind like Arthur Smith, the guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing is Javion Hawkins. But we have a question from Teacher Red, and as you guys know, my wife is actually a Cowboys fan, believe it or not. But she says, Wiz, how about you? How do you want to see, or who do you want to see more of from the Cowboys this season? So who's the guy that you're looking at, Wiz?
Well, when he got hurt last year in the beginning of the game, we also have an athletic tight end ourselves, and that's Blake Jarwin. So I'm anxious to see how Blake is going to bounce back this year from tearing his ACL last year. He's somebody who can stretch open the field, hit a lot of the downfield routes. So I definitely want to see how he worked back in the system with all the wide receivers that we have out there. So he's going to be like the forgotten guy, which is good though. Because everybody's going to be so focused on Amari Cooper, Gallup, CD, Zeke. So he's going to be the guy that's going to be able to stretch that field up the middle, do a lot of the underneath stuff. And he's really good as far as having a whole lot of yak too. So that's the guy I'm gonna definitely be keeping my eyes on this year, especially for him coming back from a torn ACL.
Yeah, I like Blake Jarwin a lot. I think Blake Jarwin is kind of underrated, but he's a guy that when y'all brought back Jason Witten for whatever reason, Blake Jarwin, I think is one of those guys Blake Jarwin was coming to his own when y'all brought Jason Witten back for that brief period. So I definitely think that he's special. Blake Jarwin, I think he has a chance to do some things, especially like you said, in those seams, up the seams, because he's a guy that runs a lot better than a lot of people think. He's a lot faster than you think. So I definitely think that he's a guy that can do some big things for the Cowboys. But I like this question right here. Antonio Holloway says, Jew, how many touchdowns you see Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst going to have this season or this year. That's hard if you're saying combined. I could see Kyle Pitts getting 9 to 10 touchdowns. So between the both of them, they could easily have 15 to 16 touchdowns. Because I could easily see Kyle Pitts having about 10 touchdowns, and I at least think Hayden Hurst could get 6 or 7, because I think those guys are going to be the guys that we're going to use in the red zone, because they're the big body, and you can split Kyle Pitts out wide. So I don't think you're just going to line Kyle Pitts up as a traditional tight end and, cut across, like to have him do like crossing routes and things of that nature. He's a guy you could just line up outside like Julio Jones or any other, Megatron, and just throw the ball up like in a fade, fade pattern. So I really could see him and Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst have big seasons. Hayden Hurst is similar to what you were saying about Blake Jarwin, where people forget he was a first-round pick for the Ravens, and he's a guy up the seam. He's really fast, and he was underused last year. Like, Hayden Hurst could be a Pro Bowler. Like, people don't realize how good that dude is. Like, he could legitimately be a Pro Bowler, and don't be surprised. He could easily have more yards and more touchdowns than a guy like Kyle Pitts. We keep focusing on Kyle Pitts, but he could be a guy where everybody focused on Kyle Pitts and stopping Kyle Pitts. He's going to eat off of Kyle Pitts. So if you double team or put your best defender, your best coverage linebacker, safety inside on Kyle Pitts, that means whoever that third or fourth corner, they're going to have to deal with Hayden Hurst or whoever that linebacker is. And Hayden Hurst is built a lot like a wide receiver. He runs great routes. So I definitely think that Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts combined, they could easily have 15, 16 touchdowns. And I think one of those two guys are going to be the second leader in receiving yards. Like, everybody, I heard somebody say that they think Russell Gage is going to be a guy that can go for 1,000 yards. I believe it was one of the guests that we had on AFN during our Kicking It with K-Styles. And he said that he thinks that Russell Gage is going to have 1,000-yard season. I really think that it's going to be Kyle Pitts or Hayden Hurst that's going to have like 800 to 900 yards and shock a lot of people, because Kyle Pitts is one of those guys that's really a wide receiver. Like, you can use him as a wide receiver, him and Hayden Hurst. You can use them in the slot and stuff like that. So I can easily see those guys being chain movers on third down. And as we know, Arthur Smith's a guy that loves those double tight end sets. And we've seen that year in New England, or those couple years when they had Gronkowski and they had Aaron Hernandez, that 12 personnel with those two tight ends is hard to stop, bro. It's hard to stop because not many, defenses have good coverage linebackers or multiple coverage linebackers. It's limited teams, that have great coverage linebackers. So that middle of the field is going to be wide open. Right. So that's a great question. But let's see if we missed any other questions. Let's see. Tony Wright says, I'm telling you, the Cowboys defense will not be very good at all. I mean, he's taking a shot. He ain't playing with the Cowboys. I don't know. Wiz, what you feel about that, man? What you feel about that?
I mean, like I say, I just want us to be average. That's it. I mean, if we can be average, then I think we're fine, especially with the offense that we got. So I mean, I need us to be better than ranked 28, 29th, like we were last year. So I understand you say we ain't gonna be good. I don't need to be good. I just need us to be average. If we can be a little bit better, then I think we'll be fine. And don't give up 30 points a game. That's all I really care about.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And we've said the same thing. We've been saying the same thing here at Atlanta Falcons Nation. We don't need a top 10 defense. We just need to be solid. You know what I'm saying? If we can be anywhere, to be honest, I don't care where the defense ranks, to be honest with you, as long as we get turnovers and timely stops. And that's something that Mad Mike, he always says that's one of his favorite sayings. And one of the favorite sayings now here at Atlanta Falcons Nation, Do Talk Sports, is you have to have a defense that can get you those timely turnovers and timely stops. Doesn't matter whether you're the number one defense. We always go back to that Kansas City 49ers 2 years ago Super Bowl. The 49ers had the number one defense, but when it came down to it, they couldn't stop the Chiefs when it mattered most, when the game was on the line.
So
we've seen it, and we talked about this pre-show, Wiz, when I was telling you 2016, we were 27th ranked defense, but we got timely turnovers and timely stops, pick sixes, strip sack, fumble, touchdowns, cheap touchdowns, put the offense in good field position and things of that nature. If you have a high-powered offense, which I feel like the Dallas Cowboys are a lot like, the Falcons when it comes to a high-powered offense, you don't need your defense to, be top 10 or top 15 necessarily yardage-wise. You just have to be able to bend, don't break in the red zone, and be able to get timely stops and timely turnovers, when you need them in the, in those crucial moments when it's game time, when it's time to win the game. But Jamari Williams says, Wiz, how do you feel about Keanu Neal?
You know what? I actually love that pickup. I love the Keanu Neal pickup. Me personally, a lot of Dallas Cowboys, either YouTubers or fans in general, didn't like it, and I think he's really being one that's going to be just really like sliding under the radar right now. Because not talking a lot about him. I do like the change to linebacker. I see that he played some linebacker last year for you all. As far as putting him in the box, I think that's what he's best at. I think we all know that you can't put him out there. You see what happened when we were covering Amari. So you can't put him out there on a wide receiver like that. But I think you put him in the box where he can kind of control that run and be able to use him in that in the running game. I love the Keanu Neal pickup for sure. I definitely want to see where they use him at though. That's for sure. I know they're gonna do will, but I want to see him at will. I want to see him at strong. I definitely want to see. You can move him around the linebacker room, and he's a safety net for. We have Donovan Wilson in the backfield too, as well as a strong safety. So I definitely you can always use him back there as well. So I like the Keanu pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like from a long time, him being a long time Falcon for the last couple of years, for the last 4 or 5 years, I definitely think that Keanu Neal is a guy. You don't want him in coverage because he's suspect in coverage and, out there in a ton of space. Like you said, in that Cowboys game when Amari Cooper basically burnt his draws off. You don't want him back there covering, But if he's in the box, you definitely in the box, he definitely can do his thing. Like to me, he was one of the guys that opposing offensive players feared when he was here in Atlanta. Like he was a guy that would knock your block off. So and he would knock his own player. He was knocking our own players out of games. So Keanu Neal is one of those guys. If he's in the box and they use him like as a will linebacker, I could really see him having a lot of success because he got, he has that short area quickness. He's just not the best when you put him out in a lot of space because of those, those lower leg injuries that he had. But let's see. It was another question up there that I missed. Here you go. It says, Wiz, do you want CeeDee Lamb or I think he's saying Michael Gallup as your number 2 wideout?
Michael Gallup. I mean, no. Let me switch that back. No, CeeDee Lamb for sure. I think CeeDee's going to be the number 2 this year. I think he was the number 2. Me personally, last year. Excuse me, I got something in my eye over here. I think he. I got something in my eye over here. I think he was the number 2. I think with a lot of looks and a lot of different things they're going to do with him this year, he's going to be forced to be the number 2.
All right. But with that being said, I completely agree with that. I was in the kind of the same vein of what Wiz was saying before he dropped off here. As far as CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, I think that a guy like CeeDee Lamb actually can do more things than a guy like Michael Gallup as far as running routes and things of that nature. I think CeeDee Lamb is more of a threat, meaning you can use him in the slot and you can use him outside. And CeeDee Lamb is one of the better route runners for as far as young players or young talents in the game. So I definitely think that's where Wiz was going with it. And there you go. He's back. Wiz,
what happened?
Yeah, I kind of picked up where you left off, but I basically was saying that I think that where you were going with it is CeeDee Lamb is a lot more versatile. Personally, I think he's a lot more versatile than a guy like Michael Gallup as far as running routes and stuff like that. I know you guys use CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and he's a guy that can play outside. I know when he was at Oklahoma, he was a problem as far as his route running ability. He's one of those guys that's a technician as far as route running. Now, Michael Gallup to me is a guy that you can just throw the ball up and he gonna, usually come down.
He's a 50-50 ball catcher. For sure.
So But I didn't mean to. Before you got cut off, I didn't know if you had something else to say. Go ahead.
Well, just based off of what we're gonna do this year, and something that's being done differently is that they putting CeeDee Lamb at the he actually playing the X now, some of the X routes, and he actually putting some you gonna see some plays where Gallup is gonna be lined up in the middle and in the slot as well this year. So they're gonna be moving him around. Him, Amari. I think last year you always saw that Amari was the one that's being moved, or CeeDee Lamb is like playing a slot, and they're being interchangeable. Where Gallup is always playing an X role. I think you're gonna see a little bit differently how they run everything, because they got them lining up in different spots this year too. So you might see CD on the outside, Gallup on the outside, Amari in the middle. You might see CD and Amari on the outside with Gallup in the middle, and then how it was last year. So it's a lot of different things that they're gonna do with CD, but because of how he is and where he's projected to go, Dak is gonna get him the ball. So anytime you see a one-on-one with CD, he's gonna definitely look at him first.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I was saying, I think CD is one of the better route runners in the game. That great catch he had, I think it was against Minnesota, where he basically torqued his body, spent his body all the way around and caught the ball.
Yeah,
that's one thing that I think he does really well, and that's underrated as far as being able to adjust to the football and have body control. A lot of wide receivers are not able to do that, and I think that that's something also that Kyle Pitts, if you go watch his tape, I was really impressed with, because Kyle Trask, his quarterback at Florida, to me, his accuracy sometimes he lacked accuracy, but Kyle Pitts was able to torque his body, and his body control was so great that he made Kyle Trask look a lot better in a lot of situations where the ball was thrown behind him, or it was like in a bad area, the ball was thrown, off target, and Kyle Pitts still came down with it. That's just like the body control. He has great body control. So I think that CeeDee Lamb is another guy that has that type of great body control. Let's see. Ghost Pepper says, worst Falcons draft pick of all time, regardless of the round.
What was this?
It was taken. Man, that's a good question. I'll pitch that question to you first, Wiz. What's the worst Cowboys draft pick you think, since you've been a fan?
Got a couple. Claiborne, Maurice Claiborne, for LSU.
Oh, okay.
We actually moved up from 12th, I think, to 6th to go get Claiborne out of LSU, a cornerback, and he complete bum, he was washed. So I think him, and also I think we added Taco Charlton a couple years ago when we could have got TJ Watt. And we wound up going him. He's not on the team no more. I think he was at Kansas City, I think, last year too. Taco. So those are definitely two that definitely stick out for me as far as the worst draft picks. Especially when we can actually take somebody else.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's been a lot. Like I said, it's been a lot of guys that we drafted where we were like, who is that? Like when we drafted them, nobody even. But if you want me to name one, and you say the worst draft pick, that's pretty tough. Somebody said Jamal Anderson, the defensive end out of Arkansas. I agree. That was one of them. Perea Jerry was one of those guys as well that I wasn't a huge fan of when we drafted Perea Jerry. Even though he had injuries, he was a huge draft bust. I mean, we've had a ton of guys. Lawrence Sidbury was a guy that came up in K-Style show when he was bringing up, and people was like, who was that? He played at South Carolina. Peter Cons. I mean, we've had a lot of what we've hit and miss in the draft. Yeah, look, there you go right there. Peter Cons is the worst. And man, Mike says, yeah, we had some terrible draft picks, man. But I mean, we've had, I'm telling you, Dominique Franks. I don't know if you guys remember him. Malachi Goodman. Yeah, that was one out of Clemson. Look, Tat McKinley was a bad draft pick because he didn't live up to the hype for it being a number one draft pick. Well, we could have had a guy like TJ Watt, who I wanted in that same draft, and we took Tat McKinley with TJ Watt still on the board. I mean, that just goes to show you, TJ Watt dang near could be a Hall of Fame, talent. So, I mean, that's just to name a few. We done had some terrible draft picks through the years, but those are just to name a few. Dominique Franks, Jamal Anderson, Perea Jerry, Peter Cons. The list goes on and on. Look, there go one. Desmond Southworth that played. I think he was a safety. Yeah. I mean, we've had guys that be on the team for like 1 year. They were that bad. Where they would get drafted 1 year, the next year they're gone. Somebody said Akeem Dent. Yeah, he was another guy out of Georgia. I mean, he was a rotational guy. They used. I think he played for that team in 2012. I think, but he struggled in coverage and stuff like that. I think you're reaching with the Sam Baker. Sam Baker. I like Sam Baker. I think Sam Baker was pretty good. He went, but Thomas Deku. Deku was good for a little while.
I like the Deku. I like that when he came out. I like
yeah. That's a guy that K Styles pretty much always roast when his name come up because he took a funny picture. So ever since he took that one picture, I think when he was at Cal, K Styles always pretty much roast Thomas Deku. But Thomas Deku was good once he got his money. For whatever reason, he forgot how to tackle and cover. So I think Thomas Deku wasn't too bad. Look at this. Joplo Bartu. He was one of the ones that was a linebacker as well. That was horrible. Cliff Matthews. I mean, the chat's giving me some good ones. Cliff Matthews, he was horrible. Let's see. Look, I'm gonna roll with you guys. Look, there you go. Prince Shimbo. He was a guy that he actually got in trouble though. Michael Walker. I don't know if he was a terrible draft pick. He only played for the team, I think, for like 1 or 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. He was a linebacker out of Notre Dame. But I think he got in trouble. Like, I don't remember exactly what happened, but he had some legal issues. So I guess we can say he was a draft bust because he got in trouble. Somebody said Reggie Kelly. Oh no, y'all disrespecting now. Reggie Kelly was all right. He was solid. Come on. Reggie Kelly, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mad Mike and Miss Maggie, they actually interviewed Reggie Kelly. So Reggie Kelly was solid. He was a role player. He was like a blocking tight end first, but he wasn't bad. He played on the late 90s teams. I don't think he was that bad. He was mainly used as a blocking tight end. And there they go. I told you around here they call Tat McKinley Tweety Bird. Yeah, Tweety Bird. Yeah, he was one of those guys. Oh, there it is. That's the name that I was looking for. Chris Owens. And what's good, Brian Peoples? I meant to hit you earlier. I seen you in the chat, man. What's going on? I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, Chris Owens, he had the nerve to wear number 21 Wiz when he came to Atlanta and put on Deion Sanders jersey and then was horrible. Yeah, he had the nerve to do that.
You can't do that. You can't put on prime number.
Yeah. They're going, I mean, as Isaac is giving us all the good names. Duke Riley, he was another guy, came to Atlanta, was pulling a truck when he was working out, and now he's on the Eagles, but he was another guy, came out of LSU. And everybody thought he was going to be somebody. And I thought he was actually going to be a pretty good guy, a pretty good player as well. Just watching his tape, he was pulling a truck, an 18-wheeler and his workouts and stuff like that. And that just goes to show you that has nothing to do with football. You can be as strong as you want to be, but if you don't have the actual techniques down and things of that nature, all of that strength don't mean nothing. Let's see here. And I see Deidre Sanat in the chat. I disagree. Deidre Sanat hasn't really had a fair shake at Deidre Sanat hasn't had a fair shake. So I wouldn't say he's a draft bust. He just haven't been played. That's like saying Quadra Olison. Some of these guys just haven't had an opportunity. And then Sean Weatherspoon. Yeah, Robbie, you trolling with this one. Because I love me some Sean Weatherspoon. I actually got a Sean Weatherspoon jersey. Like he's one of my favorite Atlanta Falcons defensive players. Linebackers of all time with our Falcons. So, but
Weatherspoon was a dog. He was a dog for y'all for sure.
My wife said pulling trucks for no reason. Exactly. Yeah, we had him here doing all of that. He was doing all of that on social media, pulling trucks, and that dude got on the field and couldn't do nothing. So, with that being said, we're gonna get ready to start winding it down. But if you guys just we'll take a few more questions. But we're going to get ready to wind it down. We'll probably take maybe 2 more questions, and then we're going to wind it down because we're over an hour, 30 minutes. I try to keep it at about an hour, 30 minutes. But it's been a pleasure having you on, Wiz, man. We definitely going to have to do it again. Like I said, it's just organic. I appreciate having you on, bro.
I appreciate it.
And I appreciate everybody, who sent the super chats. Everybody that liked, shared, subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I am on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Don't forget to also go over to Atlanta Falcons Nation. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers there, and the NFL season is only a couple weeks away. We're like 3 weeks away from training camp, so I'm super excited to see what's going to happen this season. And like I said, we're going to definitely have you back on.
For sure.
As far as once the season kicks off and things of that nature, and maybe before that, because I do this every Wednesday, so you're welcome to join me anytime. And it looks like the fans, the fans enjoyed you tonight, so we appreciate y'all tuning in. That's a name I ain't seen in a while. He said, "I forgot about Lamar Holmes." Oh my God, yeah, Lamar Holmes was terrible at that offensive line position. He was one of those guys that Thomas Dimitroff got out of the Senior Bowl. And we know how those usually shake out. Question here. Antonio says, Wiz, who do Michael Parsons remind you of? Well, that's a good question.
Ooh, that's a great question. Boy, I would probably say the closest thing right now that he probably will remind me of is your boy from Tampa Bay. I think it's White from Tampa Bay.
Devin White?
I think he would be Devin White. I think he would be the closest to that. Now, that's just going off of, he ain't played in over a year neither. So, we haven't seen Micah actually, do anything since 2019. So I would definitely, I'm waiting to see with Micah. But I think he do have the potential of Devin White for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think he's a hybrid. I think he's like in the middle of like a Bobby Wagner / like you said, a Devin White, because he has the speed, but I think he's a little bit thicker than those guys. Like a Devin White, I think he's a little more built, and that's what the difference between like a Bobby Wagner and like a Deion Jones. Deion Jones and Devin White are like 225, 230. They're really light linebackers. I think Michael Parsons, isn't he like about 240 or 250 as far as weight?
Yeah, he's like he's a little less than that, probably like 235, 240.
Okay. And Tony Wright says Michael Parsons reminds me of Arizona's first round draft pick 2020 Isaiah Simmons. They're mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's as tall.
If you look at them, they look just alike for sure.
Really? Okay. I didn't know how. I know Isaiah's
Micah's like 6'4".
Oh wow! I didn't know he was that big. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he was that tall. Okay, well maybe they are mirror images of each other. I thought Isaiah Simmons was a little bit taller than him, but yeah, I mean, I those were great questions, and I definitely think that Micah's going to have success in the league. It just depends on how fast he can pick up on as far as coverage. If they use him just like a downhill linebacker, I think that he has the instincts to be a great linebacker. He's definitely physical and definitely is good at stopping the run in blitz situations, because that's how they use him at Penn State. I'm not too sure about his coverage skills and his awareness. You know what I'm saying? Because to be a good coverage linebacker, you have to watch film. You have to understand, route combinations and things of that nature. So we're going to see, how fast he picks up the defensive playbook and things of that nature. But he definitely has the skill set as far as the God-given talent. Like he definitely is, the athlete that you need to be to play that Mike linebacker role and to be a successful linebacker as far as speed and as far as his ability to tackle and his physicality. But with that being said, we're going to get ready to wrap it up. I think it's just one more question that I've seen here that I was going to go ahead and let you hit, Wiz, but let me see if I can find it. It was moving really fast and I didn't see it. Hold on. Oh, there it is. So it says, do you think that DQ can improve Dallas D?
Well, it can't get any worse for sure. I think he will. I think he'll be much better. I think the communication will be a lot better than it was last year. I think we got guys that can. We brought a lot of guys in that are able to stop the run too. So I think we'll be a little bit better. Like I said earlier, I don't think we should be. I don't think we need to be top 10. I just think we need to be average. So if he can get us to the average point, just the middle of the pack, I think we'd be okay though.
All right. Well, with that being said, Brian Peoples, I don't know if you were in here earlier when we kind of hit on Dan Quinn, but if not, you can definitely go watch it back. But basically, I just said the same thing that Wiz is saying. We've been saying it here at Atlanta Falcons Nation. As long as you can get stops, timely stops, I definitely think that anybody at this point would be better than Mike Nolan. I think that Mike Nolan was just not the right hire for Dallas, and we all know the reason why he was hired by Mike McCarthy. But I think that Dan Quinn, he'll do better than Mike Nolan, but I'm not too sure as far as like rankings and things of that nature. As long as you have a defense that can cause turnovers, and Dan Quinn, when he was here in Atlanta, he preached getting after the football, forcing fumbles, interceptions, turnovers. That's something that Dan Quinn talked about a lot here in Atlanta. I don't know what he's doing there in Dallas, but everything was about the ball when he was here in Atlanta. So with that being said, I appreciate you joining me tonight, Wiz. He is thinking about starting his own YouTube channel, which will be Wiz and the Boys. So you guys, if you like Dallas Cowboy, if you just like great football talk, like I don't just follow Atlanta Falcons YouTubers, but I also follow Dallas Cowboys, Eagles. If you're talking great football and you have knowledge of the game, I'll follow you or I'll subscribe to your channel. But I definitely think that you guys to subscribe to my boy's channel once he starts. And I definitely will let you guys know here at Atlanta Falcons Nation once he starts his YouTube channel. But I definitely think, Wiz, you got what it takes, man. So go ahead, man, get started, man. Yeah, go ahead, get started, man. It looks like they enjoyed you tonight, man, and I appreciate you, like I said, joining me. Definitely tune in every Wednesday night here at 7 p.m. What's the word, Dirty Bird? But with that being said, if you haven't already hit that like button, subscribe button, please do so. We're on the road to 2K, not just here at Jew Talk Sports, but also Atlanta Falcons Nation. Also join us Friday night. We will be having Friday Night Madness, which I believe kicks off at 8 p.m. on Fridays. Usually it's Mad Mike, K-Styles jumps on with the fans, and they have you guys on so you guys can give your thoughts on the season. And basically we talk all things Atlanta Falcons, all things NFL. Also tune in Monday nights, kicking it with K-Styles. Usually I join them on Monday nights at 8 p.m. as well. Me, Mad Mike, we all jump on and we chop it up, talk Falcons football. We're getting ready for the season. Like I said, we're about 3 weeks away, but football is in the air. And then also on Wednesday nights, you join me here, 7 p.m. So with that being said, this been your boy Jew. We'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace.